Today, I'm going to show you how to smoke a full packer brisket. We want as much yield as possible. And I'm just going to trim away any of this hard fat. It knows what it should be doing, and I know what I should be doing. Look at that. How good does that look? That is super succulent. G'day, I'm Schuey. Welcome to Smoked Barbecue Sauce, where we want to help you improve your barbecue game. Today, I'm going to show you how to smoke a full packer brisket backyard style. If you'd like to check this recipe a little further than what I cover in the video, there's going to be a link in the description to the website that has a wealth of information on barbecue and barbecue related products. I picked up this full packer brisket weighing just over 17 pounds, and it is a Ranges Valley Marble Score 5 brisket. Being a full packer means it has both the flat and the point muscle attached. Now today's trim is going to be based off a backyard one, that meaning we want as much yield as possible out of this brisket. So I'm going to start the trim with the top of the brisket today, and I'm just going to trim away any of this hard fat. And remember, we're keeping it all. Now as the fat does warm up, it softens and it is going to get harder to trim. So be careful, but try and work fast and trim the fat off. There's a massive fat seam here, so just work away at it. Don't go nuts and start digging straight in. Again, this is why you want to work with it while it's cool, straight out of the fridge, and using a sharp knife. Hard fat is not going to render down, so we need to remove it. As you can see, every little bit I take, we're now exposing a bit more meat, and that's what our rub is going to be on. Any little pointy bits, they will dry out. I will neaten up the edges, round them off a little bit. There's more aerodynamic we can make the brisket, the better. It will cook more evenly, the smoke will roll around it. As I said, any sort of daggy small bits, realistically, they are going to, like this thin flap is going to dry out, and so mainly that point. So I will trim it, round it off a bit, okay, and it is very thin along here. Again, I may as well round that off a bit. Done. So that's for a backyard one. That's about all I'm going to do. I will now flip it over, and we are going to get rid of, looks like one of the butchers had fun cutting into that. But that, look at that, it's just hard fat. Nothing's going to happen with that. We ain't going to eat it. It's not going to render down. So we may as well remove it. Look, realistically, I'm not going to overthink it. I think get rid of that little dag. Just make sure all the edges, there's no pointy bits. There's a little pointy bit there, so we'll just round it up a little bit. As I said, any little pointy bits, they will dry out. And I'm happy with that. Oh, actually I might just get that last bit off. There we go. I'm happy. As a backyard one, that's going to be fine. The most common type of seasoning for brisket is a salt and pepper mix. Now you can use any ratio and use a bit more pepper, a bit more salt, but those new to brisket cooking and they hear that, they don't know what they like. Now I like to use an SPG or a salt, pepper, garlic mix. Now I tend to also like to use a coarse grind of salt flakes, coarsely ground black pepper and garlic granules. And I use about a third of each and just give it a good shake up. Now I always tend to flip my food over and I will always put the seasoning on the bottom first, and brisket is no different. The reason being is we flip it over, the top's going to look nice and we do the top last. So normally keep the rub, don't do it too close or it'll clump. Give it about 12 inches above your meat and just give a nice even coating. And we are going to try and get the edges as well. Some people you might see do this and they think it bounces in. I just tend to hold the meat up and get all the edges myself. We're going to flip that. Again, like my chopping board, the fact is it's a big brisket. So this is my biggest baking tray. So we will just be doing a bit of cleanup. Again, get it into all the crevices. That's it. Just leave that aside and we're going to get the Weber Smoky Mountain ready now. I'll be utilising a 22-inch Weber Smoky Mountain for today's cook. I'm also going to be using the minion method using lump charcoal. So once that's all alight, I'm just going to dump it into a well of unlit charcoal. I'm also going to chuck in a couple of chunks of wood. I'll use some cherry and some red wine oak in today's cook. I'll also attach a thermometer to the grill. I'm going to set the vents and then I'm going to stabilise the temp at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for today's cook. The Weber Smoky Mountain is finally up to temp so we can get this brisket on. So just put it on and insert a probe. So I'm just going to set my app to let me know once the internal temp of the brisket's reached 170 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's when I'm going to boat it in some foil. So I won't even check the brisket for the first 2 hours. I just prefer to leave it be. It knows what it should be doing and I know what I should be doing. But after 2 hours, I am going to check it. And if it needs a spritz, I'm just going to use plain water. I haven't found any different flavour from using other liquids in my spritz, but I'm just going to look and see if there's any dry spots and I'll just give it a quick spritz. There's a few little dry bits, nothing too much, but it's coming along really well. The brisket has finally reached an internal temp of 170 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's time to get it off the smoker and put it on some foil and we're going to boat it. How good does that look? Now, to boat it, you're just going to scrunch up the foil all the way around, effectively making a little boat. We want to get this back on nice and quick. We don't want that temp to rise up too much. So we'll just place that back on there, put the thermometer back in. Now the boat is just going to help protect the bottom so we don't burn it. Yeah, but also by boating and not wrapping, we're going to protect that bark that we've been creating over the last couple of hours. So the brisket has started to probe extremely well all over. If a metal probe goes in and out with no resistance, it is ready to come off. And just check it all over and make sure every part of the brisket is ready. Now most briskets will start probing right around the 195 to 210 mark, but again, just go by feel. So now we just want to wrap this brisket up in a couple of layers of foil. Next up, place a brisket in an old towel. And I say old, I don't want you getting in trouble from the wife. And into a cooler, place another old towel. Place your wrapped brisket on top. Another old towel. Into a cooler. I'm going to let this rest for 2 hours. Okay, so the time has come. It's been 2 hours. We need to get the brisket out of the cooler and see what we've created. Okay, so the moment of truth. Oh, the smell is absolutely phenomenal. We have that brisket wobble. I actually had a piece of foil rolled up underneath it just to let some of the moisture that was pooling up while we were cooking it just run off. Cutting up our brisket. This can be the make or break on all of our hard work today, because we need to know which way the meat fibers are going, because we need to cut across them. This is going to give a much more tender eating experience, as opposed to if we cut with the grain, you'd get a really chewy bite every time you sunk your teeth into your brisket. We can now see that we are actually getting up to where that point muscle is, and it's a lot fattier, a lot more juice. Very good eating. Look at that. How good does that look? That is super succulent. The aroma coming off it, seriously. There is no wondering why this is considered the king of beef cuts. Cheers and thanks for watching.